Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're going to take just a minute here, of course, to let everyone sign on. Thank you guys so much for taking the time today and for joining us on this lovely Thursday. Hello. Yeah, while we're waiting for everyone, let us know where you guys are joining us from. We're here in Los Angeles, downtown. I see someone from New York. Yeah, test using the chat system. Make sure your audio is working. Make sure you can see me in the screen. Awesome. Studio City. Hello, neighbor. New Jersey, New York, Atlanta, Taos. Awesome. Austin, Vancouver. Welcome, everyone. Very cool. Montreal. Fantastic. Excellent. Well, I'm so thrilled to have you all on here today. There is a ton for us to cover. We only have an hour. So I want to make sure I give you as much information as possible, that I give you as much actionable steps as possible so that you can take those steps and make change on your account starting today. And I want to cover the entire spectrum of kind of an intermediate look at social media, what's happening in our industry, entertainment, what's happening behind the scenes in the social media side of things, what's important and where to invest your focus and time, and what kind of steps can you skip, the mistakes that we've all made in growing our accounts, so that we can speed it up for you in your process of taking on social media. Welcome, everyone. It looks like people are still joining us here. And of course, if you can't hear us, you have any technical issues or something's going on, use the chat there below. And we have many of our awesome TSMA team members on here today to support you guys with any technical needs as well as any questions you have. So with that being said, TSMA, we've been so honored and privileged to be able to educate around the world with some really fantastic companies. We are so honored and thrilled to be here today with Casting Networks. As you guys know, Casting Networks is such a force in our entertainment industry, whether you're here in Los Angeles for LA Casting or you're international across the United States. We're just so thankful to be able to give this education in this ever-changing industry. With that being said, our format when we educate at SAG-AFTRA or Television Academy or with Apple or whomever we're working with, our format is always collaborative. So I want to make sure that you guys are getting your questions answered. With that being said, if you have questions that are specific to your account, something that is just about you, for example, I'm an actor, but I also am a photographer. What kind of photos make sense for my personal page as opposed to my photography page? Those kind of questions, I will make sure you guys have access to our team members, both on the chat and afterward, to help you with your personal questions, just because they can be a little bit longer answers. I want to make sure that all of my answers are general enough that everyone here can get some value from that. Also want to use the question and answer aspect of this to make sure I don't miss anything. Because there is so much information, it's very easy to go fast and then miss some really key points. So if something feels like it moved a little too quickly, or maybe there was a question that wasn't quite hit, please do put it in the chat system down there below where you guys are all writing where you're from. So awesome. And one of our team members will either answer it for you if it's a simple question, or they will send it to me to then answer at the end in a brief Q&A session. I'm also going to make sure you guys have my contact information, our team's contact information, so you can get in touch with us afterward. But let's dive right in. So I want to introduce a few of our team members that are here today. We have Ben White here. He just finished a class over with SAG-AFTRA on social media. He is also on the national board for SAG-AFTRA, one of our awesome members here at TSMA. We also have Alexandra, who leads our account management team and manages accounts herself as well. We have Bethany, we have Jeff, we have Rebecca, we have Rick, so many different team members that are on here today to help support from TSMA, which is the Social Media Advantage, to help support with any questions you guys have or anything that you should need. So questions right there in the chat is perfect. And with that, I'm going to share my screen and make sure you guys can all see what I'm looking at here. So here we go. With that, while we're doing this, I'm curious, how many of you guys have seen TSMA social media class before, whether it's SAG-AFTRA or one of those different locations, maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago? I'm curious if any of you guys have. Awesome. First time for many, it seems, which is great. Beautiful. All right. Well, I'll let you know I can't see your answers right now. So if you do have questions, that's why we have the team on there, because my whole screen is this presentation. But if you cannot see this presentation on your end and it doesn't say TSMA, casting networks, let us know in the chat. And then we'll make sure we can fix it. I've got my lifeline here as well to the team to make sure that I get all of your questions and any support that's needed. Wonderful. So to dive right in, as I mentioned, this is an intermediate social media seminar in collaboration with casting networks. This is why we're here. The industry, social media, has impacted the entertainment industry drastically. The reason you may have taken interest in this, the reason you opened this email and decided that you're going to take some time out of your very busy lives to jump on and join us today is because social media is becoming such a major part of the industry that we know and love. These are just a couple of the millions of articles and breakdowns and things that have gone out around social media in the last, I don't know, 5 years. It feels like it's made a really drastic impact, but really in the last year to 2 years, it has drastically shifted to the point where now it's becoming something that whether you love social media or not, it's something you have to take a look at and at least take seriously, because the entertainment industry is taking it seriously. Us being here today is an exact example of that. So there's so much here that we can dive into, but the general idea is that the trend is upward. Social media is becoming a major part, and especially now with all of us being at home, with e-commerce brands really putting a lot of focus. That just means selling online, putting a lot of focus in social media, and video on demand, streaming services like Netflix, Amazon, AT&T, Apple, Hulu, so on and so forth. I think I heard a rumor that there's Costco is thinking about getting into the original scripted digital video on demand space. You have Quibi. I mean, there's so many more. That boom means that the industry is changing underneath our feet. Those companies that I just mentioned are digital companies. They live in this digital world where that is the language that they communicate with. So as performers, it is so important that you speak their language. So I want to help you guys get into that headspace and mindset today. With that being said, talent comes first. I've said that every class I've ever taught. I've probably said it to, 100,000 people by now. Talent comes first. What you do in the room, what you do on that self-tape, what you do on set is more important than your marketing. But it is show business. At the end of the day, this is the business component of the art and the talent that you're bringing to the table, the storytelling component. That I'm assuming you guys are all in this industry because you're talented and you know that you have a future in it. So assuming that is true, this is now how do you market that talent? Or if you have a side hustle, a business, you're looking for diversified revenue streams through social media, how do you market that? How do you get it to people? How do you get people to look at it and see it and care and understand so that you can leverage that to give yourself more opportunities in the entertainment industry? Very quick intro to me. That's my Instagram, by the way, which is a great way to get a hold of me. If you ever send any messages or anything or tag me, I'll write you back. I can answer some questions there. I'm pretty quick on Instagram. My background's actually in casting. So I started in casting with some amazing casting directors like Carla Houle and Nancy Nair and Mary Jo Slater. I cast with them projects like Coco for Pixar and East Los High and Narcos for Netflix, and did screen tests for CW. So a lot of this comes from that background of casting, what happens in the room. I then from there learned that social media is important, built up my own social media following just as a test to see what it's like to do it with no credits and see what it's like to do it as an influencer. We'll get to that term a little bit later, and built myself to that micro influencer level. What really got my attention and started to get more serious was when I started to do brand collaborations. A little part of this today, probably about 15%, is going to be talking about working with companies that you love to get paid or product trade, depending on how big of a following you have, to actually promote those brands. So influencer marketing, probably something you guys are familiar with and aware of. It's becoming a major, major marketplace, and there's so much that's developing in that space. From there, I ended up traveling the world, teaching this seminar and various seminars like this. I've done partnerships with Jamba Juice and so many others, Formula Race Cars, National Geographic, and many other businesses on social media. So even as a micro influencer, using that as a case study. And then, of course, I started TSMA Consulting, the group I'm so proud of, and many of the team members are on here today to support you guys. We are a social media consultation management and a growth firm. So we specifically help entertainment, media, and technology industries understand social media and leverage it for your career, for your business, whatever that might be. So I'm going to show you guys that link a couple times with TSMA Growth if you want to check out more on our growth program. Enough about me. Let's dive right into what the social media family tree is like today. So this is 2020. These are the most up-to-date numbers, give or take, for monthly usage on these platforms. So this is monthly users. Facebook, 2.6 billion. Couple bits of information for you in case you didn't know. Facebook owns Instagram. They bought Instagram for almost $1 billion a few years back and built it to a full-blown social media marketing platform. Really key component there. Instagram, social media, digital marketing. Facebook, digital networking. Instagram, digital marketing. Facebook, digital networking. Facebook is going to be for the people that you already know, friends, family, people who've hired you, who might hire you. You have to accept friend requests, so it's a lot more personal. Instagram, if you have a public profile, which should be the first step you take today if you are private, if you have a public profile on Instagram, you don't accept who follows you. You're building a fan base. You're building an audience. You're building a consumer base, a customer base. People will actually take action because of your account. That's why it's digital marketing, not networking. You can use it for networking, but the marketing component is what's actually the leverageable, powerful tool that you can use as a performer. YouTube, a huge amount of users. Another reason that YouTube is, that's actually the reason why YouTube might not be the focus is because it is very saturated. Now, if you create really fantastic gripping content that's long form, meaning longer videos, YouTube might be the platform for you to focus on. For most of today, I hope you guys don't mind, we're going to talk specifically about Instagram as the fastest growing platform other than TikTok. Get to that in a minute. But Instagram, because it is a visual medium and the best place to utilize that algorithm that I'm going to get to for your career. It's also the place that the industry is looking. Now, if that ever changes, we'll invite you guys after this to our future classes. And if TikTok becomes the go-to now for the entertainment industry, you guys will be the first to know. But for right now, it really is Instagram and that presence. And visual medium basically means you have the option on Instagram to have still images, which is actually how the platform began. The company began as a way to filter your photos. If you scroll all the way down your Instagram, and you were around back when Instagram first started, it was just for you to put any pictures that you liked with a filter over them. It wasn't a social media platform. It was just some way, it was a way for you to filter. So that's why it was created. But Instagram Sense has now opened up the capacity for still imagery, which is that photo, graphic design for things like highlight covers and photos themselves, long form video content on IGTV. You guys may or may not have used that yet, but you can do up to 15 minutes if you have less than 10,000 followers, up to an hour if you have more than 10,000 followers. You get short form video content, up to 60 seconds of video as a post and 16 seconds of video as a story. I'm going to get into all these things, as well as copywriting. So like Twitter, you can write copy, you can write text as a caption. There's also SEO. SEO basically means search engine optimization, so that your content can get found and seen by strangers. People have no idea who you are yet, but they will soon, because the SEO tactics you can take on Instagram, like hashtags, are a really good example of search engine optimization. It's meta tags that allow people to find certain pieces of content. We'll get into hashtags later as well, and I know I keep saying that, there's a lot here. So moving on, Twitter, good place for news, politics, and for celebrities to apologize. It's not usually the best place as a visual medium for an artist that's building their career or building their audience, maybe for the first time, or from a more traditional audience that you've had in press and whatnot. Twitter is really great for anyone who's in the copy world. So if you're a writer of any kind, Twitter makes a lot of sense. Hard to get that copy as the standalone content creation component for Instagram, which is why Twitter exists. Twitter's numbers have stayed relatively stagnant. Snapchat, Instagram tried to buy Snapchat. Snapchat wouldn't sell to Instagram. So then Instagram created Instagram stories, face filters, and Instagram highlights, which is basically what Snapchat is known for. They also have something called Instagram Threads, where you can send images, candid photos to your friends directly. That's Snapchat. So I don't know how they legally got around that, but they developed their own program, basically, or part of their program, their platform, to take over Snapchat. Unfortunately, ever since, Snapchat's numbers have been dwindling. Snapchat and TikTok target a very young potential audience demographic. That's going to be maybe ages 12 to 25. Snapchat, and TikTok. So that's good to know. If you're a performer who's trying to target a very wide, general, diverse audience base, and you only focus on Snapchat and TikTok, not only is it candid and more comedic, usually musical, but you are also targeting a very small percentage of the market. However, they take over most of the consumption for content, meaning that they look at the most photos and videos of any demographic. But as an artist, as someone who's creating, whatever it is, your own project, a web series, you're in a project, you're on a show, you're a commercial performer, you do voiceover, whatever it is, that art, that craft needs to be seen most likely by an international diverse audience of all different age demographics, which Instagram really is the best kind of right in the middle for that. TikTok is the fastest growing platform right now. We're not going to talk a lot about TikTok today. I know there's probably a few questions around it, but the idea is that TikTok is a Chinese-owned business. Basically, they took Musical.ly, that kind of lip-syncing, musical, very short-form, candid, funny type content, and turned it into a more significant, more serious social media platform. If you are very serious about being an influencer and making money doing this, TikTok might make sense for you to take a look at and develop a presence on. If you are just kind of getting into this for the first time and you're taking it seriously after this session today, Instagram is going to be your spot. However, Instagram and TikTok is one of those bandwagons that if you jump on early enough, which is still relatively early, you might be able to hit a really large audience. It also has the highest engagement, which means just people viewing your videos, liking it, and otherwise, of any platform. However, I have not seen the industry take to TikTok yet. I've also heard some inner workings within TikTok on how they don't treat their creators very well. I don't know. I'm not saying that. I just heard that. So just something to consider. Vine was a huge splash and then it disappeared. Instagram's been around for a long time and they have the power of Facebook's algorithm. Hopefully we all feel good on the family tree and why we're focusing on Instagram. This kind of goes without saying, this is the shift in the entertainment industry, where the money is actually going. Shifting from traditional commercials with residuals, large paychecks, that kind of like big national commercial that used to be a lot more apparent, to now shifting more towards digital, which means more work, which is exciting for everyone on this video call. There's more work out there. However, it is usually less pay. So it's going to be a buyout, or SAG-AFTRA's got some incredible contracts that cover new media and digital and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's going to be, instead of a $10 million commercial for Coke, it's going to be $500,000 digital spots for Coke. So you're not going to book all 20. That's the difference. You'll be in a few of them now, maybe, or at least one. You have a better chance, but it's usually for less. So it's good to know that that's kind of the world now. We have to work a little bit more as performers than ever before to book more, but there's more opportunity. Same goes in the theatrical space. But it makes sense. Think about it this way. You put a $100,000 billboard on Sunset Boulevard. There's no way to track those numbers. You don't know how many people have seen it. You can guess. You can kind of gauge it. You don't know who those demographics are. There's no like celebrity credibility or anything that comes with doing a billboard like that. And it's so expensive. Why not spend $10,000 on Instagram and get a much bigger digital splash, a much bigger audience that you can quantify, you can look at the data, you can determine who the demos are, you can target that, and you spent a ton less for a better return? It's a no-brainer. So as performers, you really have to understand where the business of entertainment, what that is founded in and rooted in, because that will help inform the decisions you make as someone trying to market. Those are your buyers. Those are your prospective clients. People like networks and studios and directors, exec producers and producers. Those are your clients. Those are people hiring you for your service, which is your talent. So good way to think about it. Get your mindset around the business of show business. This is what it really comes down to. Brand, quality, and consistency. I've been saying this since I started teaching, but really from the most intuitive perspective, it is brand, quality, and consistency. I'm going to get into each one of those right now. If you write down anything during this, brand, quality, consistency will be a nice reminder to make sure that you're staying consistent with branding yourself for social media with quality content. So brand. Best way to start with this is to pick 3 brand points. So you don't oversaturate your audience, you get enough diversity in your content that it always stays fresh, and you can pick some brand points that aren't always just about entertainment. One of the biggest questions that we always get is, what do I post about? if I'm starting this for the first time or getting serious about it, what are we going to post about? Well, picking 3 brand points is going to help inform you what you should actually create content around. So for example, my Instagram, if you got a chance to look at it so far, I am Ryan Walker, is entertainment, which will be the first brand point for most of you, if not all of you. Number 2 is lifestyle, which basically means like commercial print or an ad in Target, for example, would be like a lifestyle type piece of content, pictures of you for name face recognition. And then my 3rd brand point is travel. So that was a brand point that I chose because I was traveling, not because I wanted to travel more. So I made that mistake with fitness, and I'll show you guys in a minute. You can't pick a brand point hoping it's going to make you or motivate you to do that brand point. Fitness did not work for me, and so I transitioned it to travel. It made a lot more sense. All of my collaborations, maybe 80% actually, have been in the travel space with brands. So that's what I mean by, is it lucrative? That means, can you make money actually selling a product that you care about and love that has to do with that brand point? So does it resonate with you? Does it feel authentic? Is it something you can authentically post about and create content around? Did you pick 3? Because if you do more, it starts to get a little bit confusing. And if you do less, you're going to run out of content, and it's not going to be as diversified for your audience. So picking 3 is kind of that magic number. Here are some examples. Fashion, entertainment, lifestyle, fitness, travel, food, animals, activism, inspiration, beauty, comedy, photography. There's others, gaming, and others, like home or outdoors man or woman. There's a lot of different options. Think of something that really resonates with you that you already are doing that would make sense. So fashion, for example, if you love clothes and you want to showcase that on your profile. Activism, if you've been actively pushing for certain movements and campaigns and whatnot, which is a common one for a lot of people right now, which is wonderful. So activism could be a great one. Comedy, if you do stand-up comedy or sketches or skits. Beauty, if you want to do makeup tutorials or hair, whatever it is. There's a lot of options there. But I just really quickly want to give you an idea that if you start to do 4 or 5, let's just pick 5 randomly here. It gets a little bit crazy, and the confused mind says no. That's something that Ben from our team always loves saying. If there's too much going on the profile, people are going to leave. The average attention span for someone on Instagram is 7 seconds. That's probably at most. So you have 7 seconds to give someone a really good understanding, a clear depiction of what you are all about and who you are as a person. So let's say you were posting about fashion. Awesome. Entertainment, that probably can work together. The wardrobe you have on set, things like that. Travel. Awesome. So fashion and travel and entertainment, you're an actor, you're traveling around, you're wearing cool clothes. Animals. Okay, you're traveling around, you're wearing cool clothes, you're in entertainment, you're an actor, you also have dogs and you love horses. Beauty. Okay, so you also do makeup tutorials on top of having a dog and horses, and you travel. I think food was in there somewhere. It gets a little bit mixed up and a little bit confusing. That's why a catch-all isn't really the best solution. Being specific to the ones that resonate with you the most. That doesn't mean you're only 3, but the ones that resonate with you the most are going to help your audience understand who it is that they're looking at. Another really fast note about why this is so important is because in casting, especially now when you're doing self-tapes and submitting yourself digitally, for different opportunities, whether it's commercial or otherwise, doing, sometimes iPhone shots for print ads, whatever it is, they don't have the context of getting to know you in the room. That's something that's majorly different now than it ever was. That 5, 10, 20 minutes you're in the room really tells people who you are. Are you trustworthy? Do they know, like, and trust you? Do they feel like they want to work with you? Would they want to fly you to Vancouver for 3 months to shoot a project? So that all happens in the room. It's very hard to do that from a self-tape, especially when that could be your 50th take on that self-tape. And they don't know that. So the first place they're going to look, and they should look, is your social media. That's going to give them all of the context about who you are, who your audience is, what you care about. Are you trustworthy? Are you normal? Are you going to show up to set on time? Are you going to wear the right wardrobe? If you can do all of this well and market yourself well, chances are they can trust your talent, because your talent is apparent. This is now the part that's not so clear. And people hire people they know, like, and trust. So with that, a couple of optimizations that come with branding that can help your profile. So as I mentioned, I started in the beginning with fitness. I should have known that I didn't work out since this photo, so that was probably not the best brand point for me at the time. Also, that photo, I staged it, did the photo shoot, and did not even work out after. So I should have taken that as a hint that that was not a brand point for me. However, I was trying. I cleaned every picture off my profile, started fresh with 2 posts, and built from there. A couple of notes. First thing is your handle. So your handle is the Ryan Nick W in this case. The difficulty with Ryan Nick W is if I were to be interviewed in a podcast, on a red carpet, whatever it is, and someone says, how do we find you on Instagram or on social media, because they will, Ryan Nick W is not easy to find. Is there a K? Is it 2 N's? Is it 1 N? Why is it Nick? Is that a middle name? Is it, it's confusing and hard to find on Instagram. So my name, Ryan Walker, was taken. That's probably the case for a lot of you guys. Unfortunately, Ryan Walker wasn't the nicest guy and wouldn't give me his profile. And I've asked for his handle a few times and tried to be as nice as possible. Sometimes you just can't. They won't change their name. So I was stuck with Ryan Nick W. Underscores, numbers, hard to remember for people. So what I landed on was I am Ryan Walker. Some options for you guys that have your names taken. I'm Ryan Walker, It's Ryan Walker, Life of Ryan Walker, Adventures of Ryan, Hello Ryan Walker, Official Ryan Walker, The Real Ryan Walker. Whatever resonates with you, there's options that it's conversational. So when someone interviews me, I can say, I'm Ryan Walker, thank you very much. And then that is very hard to forget. Also, if they look up my name, it will pop up. And it will pop up because it's actually in my handle, whereas opposed to Ryan Nick W, my last name's not even in there. If you are a SAG-AFTRA member, or you hope to be, or you are about to be, use your SAG-AFTRA performer's name. And that's going to be, because you'll be credited as that name, which means that people might find you from the credits, from IMDb, and otherwise. The next thing is the link in the bio. That's the most prime real estate on your profile. That is the only place someone can click. They can swipe up on your story if you have more than 10,000 followers, but if you don't, and stories oftentimes aren't as seen as a profile, that link right there is the only place that someone could actually click to go learn more about you or your company, whether you're working on it for yourself or for a business. That link right there should be, if you don't have a business like a photography studio or something like that, it should be your IMDb vanity URL. So right here, you'll see a little bit more down the line, imdb.me/Ryan Walker is just an example of a vanity URL that you can get on IMDb. If you don't know what I'm talking about, take a look at IMDb Pro. I would highly advise you sign up for it. It's a good resource to give you a lot more information around the industry, and you can create a vanity URL. It also works like a Wikipedia page in a sense, where people can go, fans of you can go and get more information about your bio, your credits, your photos, things like that. So your vanity URL for IMDb is a really good option. What you'll notice is here, for the sake of showing it, I put my website in my bio. You'll see that it's not hyperlinked, which means that you can't actually click it. So don't put it in your bio, put it in the website section of Instagram. Many of you already know that, but just a reminder that is a really important place on your profile, especially as a performer. So I put Twitter in my bio here as well. One thing to note, and if you didn't catch this by the family tree, Instagram is not the biggest fan of their competitor Twitter. Twitter is not the biggest fan of their competitor Instagram. They both want you to spend more time on their platform. So if you link to a competing platform on any Instagram or any social media profile, the algorithm within Instagram will actually actively slow down your ability to get verified and your ability to grow within the platform. That hasn't been verified by Instagram, of course, but we've tested it so many times. We've taken someone's Twitter off of their bio and boom, they get verified. Because they don't want you sending people. It's the equivalent of me going to Denny's and standing on the table and saying, hey, everyone in Denny's, I'm going to go over to IHOP, and you guys should follow me over to IHOP. You'd probably get kicked out of Denny's. That's the equivalent. These are businesses. We got to think. These are financially for-profit business, and they don't want you to send people away from their business. So just a really good note for you guys. Actor, adventurer, now we're going to get into kind of what you write in the bio. So really, bio should have 3 things. One is where you're located. And remember, if you're in LA, LA can also mean Louisiana. So just careful with that. There's an industry in Louisiana. So put Los Angeles would be what I would advise. Number 2 is, what do you do? Until you're so well known for doing what it is that you do, and there's a few people on here, there's enough people on this session here today, that I'm sure there's a few that are known for your work. So if you're so well known for doing what it is you do, make a judgment call, and you don't need to put it on there. Like, you know, I don't know, who am I thinking of? Like, Will Smith doesn't need to put actor on his Instagram. You know, it's redundant. People know that. But until you're well known like that, you want to put what you do. So writer, dancer, actor, musician, model, singer, whatever it is. And then the third is emojis. Instagram is an international, diverse audience. There are people who will have language barriers, educational barriers, other kind of barriers that make it tough to understand, like storyteller and entrepreneur tackling his scratch-off map. If you're in Thailand, that's going to be kind of tough. So the emojis help to really ground it and make it make a lot of sense, so that someone could see, oh, okay, I see the globe, I see the American flag, understood, you know, like, you know, he's travel, something to do with travel or the world. So that's really that. Now, if you guys are looking at this profile here, you'll notice that there are different bubbles. Those are the Instagram story highlights that I mentioned before. For all of our clients at TSMA, we graphically design highlights for them, because that's a huge part of making sure that your profile looks aesthetically pleasing. There's a color cohesiveness to it. It's just a great way to kind of, I almost said bedazzle. It's a great way to really make your profile shine and add some additional design that really shows your professionalism. That is a big part of the page now. I don't know how many people look at highlights, but people do look at stories. So doing stories at least once a day is helpful. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm mentioning stories, don't worry about it. Just focus on the post. We're going to talk about that next. But stories are a good way. I would do one a day just to keep people interested and engage with what you're doing every day. Story views actually are a good indicator of reach and engagement and impressions on the profile. So you'll see a pretty big jump here. I took it from pictures of myself to diversifying the content to my surroundings. We call that filler content. Helps to make a more cohesive page. It looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. It's not so much about me every single time, lifestyle, entertainment, whatever it is. It's more about where I've been and what I'm doing, and that was a personal preference for me. So whatever works for you, you know, you can take that aesthetic direction, which is what we're going to talk about next. Just to recap: profile image, handle, bio, and feed. We went over those different components. So as I said, we're going to talk about quality now. The content that you choose, how you create the content, the photography that you do, really determines a lot on the profile. Same as your website, same as anything that you're building and developing. The quality of the content is a good indicator of the quality of your talent and brand. Now, that might hurt to hear for some of you guys, but the truth is it's a subconscious correlation. If I see someone's profile and it's beautiful, I automatically assume they're talented. I automatically assume the product is excellent. I automatically assume that they have a big audience and that they're going to do well. It might not always be the case. It's not a direct indicator of success, but it is a subconscious indicator. So really a big part of this is quality. It's also what I love. I'm passionate about the content creation component. So we get this question often: what type of camera should I use to create that quality content? The camera on the left here is a Nikon D750. That's the camera I currently use. It's a little more on the expensive range, but it's an amazing investment. I've had it since I started doing this for the first time and learning about it. It's still going strong. We shoot you know, self-tapes on it. We shoot tons of different things on that camera. And it's still an excellent piece of hardware. So I highly recommend it. It also has Wi-Fi internally, so you can sync it directly to your phone and make sure the posts go right to your camera roll or the photos, so that you can immediately edit them and get them out no matter where you are in the world. Very important if you're traveling. Up on the right is a Canon 80D. 80D is another great camera. It's a little bit cheaper, but has Wi-Fi inside of it as well, which is great. Bottom right is, of course, a smartphone. Using a smartphone is a great way to capture content. As I mentioned, we collaborate with Apple pretty often for their smartphone studios, iPhones, and basically the iPhone 11 Pro, and shooting on those and how amazing that content can be. It's incredible. I mean, they've now gotten to the point with Apple and otherwise Samsung as well, of course, to the point where, or Android, where the video quality and still image quality is really excellent. So you all have cameras with you, basically, and your iPhone usually will be good enough. Just consider things like composition, lighting, color, facial expression, story, things like that. And then, of course, once you consider those things, there are ways to edit those things. So Lightroom is one of my favorite apps. Actually, we're very proudly going to be doing the social media for the Adobe Video World Summit coming up. So we were working with Adobe on that, and we also work with Final Cut Pro with Apple, which is an excellent video editing tool for your computer. But Lightroom is an Adobe product that you can actually edit the light and color for still imagery on your mobile device. Facetune is for things like hair and makeup, pretty much. Don't overdo it, obviously, but that's a great app to use if you want to, change the color, or not the color of your shirt, excuse me, like change. Let me think. Like if you had some flyaways in a picture was windy and you wanted to just clean those up, Facetune will help you do that to make it look like you were on set. I'm obviously not advocating for adjusting photos or any dysmorphia, but using Facetune to just clean up the image as if it was post-production on a film. Photoshop Mix, you guys know Photoshop. It sounds scary. It's a lot easier to use than you think it is. If you download these apps, they're all free. Give them a try. Photoshop Mix can really change an image. I'm going to show you guys some examples in just a moment. Awesome, we're doing pretty good on time. Photoshop Fix is a lot like Photoshop Mix, but it's even easier to use. I don't personally use that one, but a lot of our team does. And then QuickShot is pretty cool. I'll show you guys what QuickShot does in just a moment. Feel free to take a screenshot of this, by the way, write them down. We want to make sure you guys have the tools you need to really create excellent content, make a difference. So here's an example of a photo that I personally took. One of our clients, we just were out back when we could go to coffee shops. We were out at a coffee shop and just want to get a quick shot. He's a producer, and he's actually grown. He's grown his account 30 or 40,000 followers now, I believe, something like that, from almost zero. So he's done an awesome job. But basically, this content is what I would consider great. I mean, it's solid. It's a good composition, good lighting, good color. Facial expression is fun. The notice of filming is an interesting story. So I like it. As a post, awesome. But we thought there may be something more here. This was one of the first edits I ever did. So I want to show you guys, this is years and years and years ago. First edits I ever did in a professional setting. I did it for myself prior to that, but in a professional setting. And he was saying, it'd be really cool if we could make it really apparent that I was in Hollywood, like a sign or like a Beverly Hills or something or something. And I said, okay, cool. Let's try using Photoshop and see what we can do in about 5 minutes. That's what we came up with. If you guys live in Hollywood, as it looks like many of you do, or Studio City, you can't get this photo. That doesn't exist. There's nowhere in town where you get that clear of a shot of Hollywood sign, right? In a nice, crescent of trees. It's not there. However, what we did is took the photo of the Hollywood sign separately, layered them together, put Chad's photo over the top, and boom, now it is a even better story. It tells a story of him being a producer in Hollywood. He's filming in Hollywood. So now his international audience, it just really feels like it grounds this content. Now, not the best edit in the world. That's why I said it was one of my first. I would have now done it a lot differently with the blurred lines and whatnot. But good to know that you can take it from a blue, white background to add in the Hollywood sign, change the blues in his suit, things like that. So that was the first example. Since then, made a lot of adjustments and changes to my editing tactics. These are just a few photos from my profile. I'm going to go into some of the issues I had with this content and the way you can use those apps to adjust some of these problems I had. First one, you guys will probably get this a lot. When you take photos inside, they're pretty much always yellow if you'd use a DSLR camera. Now there's ways to adjust the color and whatnot within the camera, but I always tend to get pretty yellow photos, especially in a museum like this one. I also didn't like the signs and things on the bottom. There's some like green billboards and like some statues that maybe shouldn't be there. But below the feet of the statue, there's a window behind that's a little off-centered, so I wasn't a huge fan of that. I also really wanted to highlight the art above, so let's remember that. The one in the middle, my photo at the time, my feed, I'm kind of particular about color. It was pretty orange, and red would have really stood out to the point where it would have been kind of contrasting to the other photos around it. So I was like, okay, I wonder if I could help this become more orange, like some of the other leaves around. And then the one on the right, it was actually a pretty nice day. It just happened to look cloudy in this shot, and the fountain wasn't on. I was like, that's such a bummer. Why is the fountain not on? It's usually on here at the palace there in Austria. So now I fixed those and made the solutions myself. So on the left side, I'm going to go back and forth as we're looking at it. I turned the statue from yellow to white, which is actually more realistic to the way it was. Got rid of the window in the back. All of this maybe look complicated to you. Very fast, very easy to do right on your phone. You'd be blown away with what you can do. Got rid of the signs, as I mentioned previously. Photo in the middle, just shifted those leaves and made them look a little bit more like it was earlier in the fall. or later in the fall. I don't know about the colors, but basically a little more orange. And then on the right, I added in the fountain and changed up the sky. So that sky is actually QuickShot. So QuickShot is an awesome app that you can literally just put in any photo that has a sky in it. It will find the sky and then put in a new sky for you. And you can change it. Again, don't go over the top unless the purpose of it is to be over the top. But finding a sky that matches kind of how it really was looking at it with the human eye, that's what I go for when I create it. And it just elevates the quality of that content. Obviously, this is pretty travel heavy. Middle shot would be lifestyle. Same thing applies on set. Same things apply for any kind of photos that you're using. Headshots, so on and so forth. You obviously don't have a sky in a headshot, but the idea is you can use tools to change colors, edit, adjust, things like that. And they're actually very easy to use. All right, jumping into consistency. Consistency is the most simple of the three. It's also the most intuitive. Just the more you do something, the more you show up, the more you put energy into it, the more you're going to get out of it. Consistently interacting and posting. We recommend posting every 2 business days on Instagram. That means maybe a Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of cycle. We usually, with our management clients, we will look at the data and decide the best times and the best dates to post. Some of our clients, we post 5 days a week. That's very hard to do. Very hard to do unless you have a team creating content for you on a regular basis, because eventually, you guess it, you'll run out of content. You'll post 20 to 25 times a month, and it's very hard to get that much great quality content that represents you as an artist. That's what it needs to represent your quality of talent. And that many times a month is tough. It doesn't always have to be high resolution content. It could be if you like selfies or whatever it is, but still 20 to 25 a month is a ton. So every 2 business days is 12 times a month. Not a huge commitment. It will take some of your time, of course, but to say social media changed my life with my time commitment is an absolute, utter understatement. And I also want to say, I didn't mention this before, I couldn't stand social media when I started. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was a waste of time, vain, vapid, not something I was interested in. And once I got into it, and especially the quality content creation component of it, I really fell in love with it. And I was like, this is actually a great way to get my voice out there. It's a great way to tell my story, to create content and get it seen, to engage with my community, to get behind different movements and campaigns that I'm interested in, that I care about. It's a great way to connect with my relationships, to get booked and open my opportunities. And once I realized that, I was like, okay, it's something you can do while you wait for the phone to ring, which is an awesome tool. And something often as performers and artists and content creators, you don't get that leverage very often. It's usually someone else who makes the decision. So now you can make the decision yourself and get their attention by doing it. So posting, building a community, interacting, engaging with people, that's the best way to be consistent on the platform. Now, the number one question that we always get, how do I grow my followers? That is hands down the number one question. It's tough. It's the number one question because it's hard to do. And there's a lot of companies out there, unfortunately, that will take your money and not give you anything. That will say they'll grow your followers or do something for you. It's not that easy. Like anything in life, it takes, that's worth it. It takes time and energy and investment and effort to make it happen. So these are really the 5 ways to authentically, genuinely grow your followers. The only real ways that work. Number 1, hashtag strategy. We don't have a ton of time today, but hashtags are a huge part of building a social media strategy because they compound over time. Maybe it's 10% of your growth, probably about 10%, but you do it on every post. And the more you hashtag, the more you trend, the more you get more followers, the more you get more engagement, the more the algorithm recognizes your content, the more you show up top in the feed, and so on and so forth. And it builds on top of each other until finally you've built a following that 30% of your audience is because of hashtags. We're not going to be able to get into hashtags today because there's a lot of formatting that goes into hashtags. I'm going to give you the TSMA email. You guys can reach out and I will send you, our team will send you a hashtag document that we have created specifically to help those that are in shorter classes like this to understand how to hashtag properly and how to format them and what to hashtag and what to think about, where to put it, things so you don't do any like social media faux pas in a sense. So that's hashtags. Number 2, posting quality content consistently within your brand. We already talked about that. That's a huge part of it. That's really the profile as a whole. That is going to be a major part of growing. And Instagram will reward your profile for being active, for using the page. Number 3, influencer collaboration. So TSMA has a program called our growth service. You guys may have heard of actor influencers. So we actually brought on the actor influencer team later last year and developed out a growth program. So primarily we were known as management. We managed social media accounts like Osbrink Agency. We managed coast to coast, and a lot of agencies, a lot of businesses, and a lot of individuals, actors, all the way from those beginning to celebrities. And it was always management. And then we open up this world of growth where we can actually build followers for people the right way. And the way we do it is influencer marketing. You can do it yourselves as well. There's ways to collaborate with people that you know. Sometimes it can be hard to do if you don't have relationships with influencers, and that just means someone who's got a large following that can influence the decisions of their followers. It can be tough to do it on your own, but we've seen it happen. I mean, I'm sure we all have a friend that overnight blew up from 1,000 to 10,000 followers because, I don't know, Tom Cruise or someone posted about him on set, or some actor on a big project posted about that friend of yours. Well, yeah, and then their numbers blew up overnight, and their page is on fire. Well, that's influencer marketing. It's the fastest way to grow. It's the best way to grow, and it's the kind of most intuitive way to grow in a sense. It's also that concept of like, I will grow once I'm on a TV show. That's the same kind of concept here with influencer marketing. I have always been a huge proponent of build it and then they'll come, as opposed to wait for them to come and then build it as far as a social media presence. So don't wait for the big break. Start building it now by collaborating with other people who have audiences in your community or that you know personally. So influencer marketing, I'm going to get into that in just a minute, but that is the method that TSMA uses. And if you go to tsmagrowth.com, it walks through the whole process of how we do it. You can take that information and decide if you want to try that yourself or whatever it is. Or, of course, work with us. We'd be honored to have you. On the engagement side of things, that's outbound engagement. That means you're actively commenting, liking, engaging with other people's profiles. That actually tells that algorithm within Instagram that you are using the platform. That's just a math equation that's determining if your content should be seen over other people's content on the feed. And that is based on you using the page, creating great content, getting good engagement, actively engaging on other people's profiles. That will determine how far your content can go, in a sense, how much Instagram will open it up to the world. And then the final is brand partnerships. If you guys did a partnership tomorrow with Nike and they posted about it, you're going to get a lot of followers overnight because Nike has a big audience, a loyal fan base and following. Same kind of idea here is that partnering with a brand and getting paid to do so in most cases can also bring you a lot of followers. So that's kind of like almost like influencer marketing, but slight variation because it's with a product or with a service. Those are the 5 ways. Anything else, buying followers, automating, none of it works. You have my word on it. I'm in this every day. It's all I think about. It's all I care about is social media and helping people understand it. There's nothing else that will work for you. So these are, there's a lot of options here. But all the other things that are like, black market, buy this and you'll grow 10,000 overnight. It doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, everything that's good, that's worth it takes time. Everything that's good and worth it takes energy, or some combination of either or both. So cool. Moving on. I mentioned hashtags. This is just like a appetizer for that document. Please do email. We'll send it to you right away. This document basically, well, actually, I think we have everyone's email here, which is a little unique. We usually don't for SAG-AFTRA. I'll check with casting networks and make sure they feel okay with it, but maybe I can just send it to all of you guys so you all have it, so you don't have to take the time to email us. If that's the case, we'll send it out today so you guys have it. But yeah, hashtags, 5 dots, hashtags. There's a way to format it in a comment as opposed to in the caption. There's a very specific way of doing it, so it stays hidden, so it doesn't look like you're marketing yourself. All of that's in the document that we'll send over to you guys. This is what I was meaning by influencer cross-marketing. Having someone with a larger following post and tag someone with a smaller following that feels like it's an organic collaboration with the same kind of audience base can drive a ton of traffic to the person with a lower following and some traffic to the person with a bigger following. So this is influencer marketing at its core. You get, Tasha posting about Aramis, you've got Raylan posting about Sophia. It helps to drive traffic to their profiles. They look like friends or they know each other, and that can really help with building your numbers. So there's ways that you guys can do this yourself. There's ways that TSMA does this through things like charitable giveaways and otherwise. There's ways to get creative around influencer marketing, but this is exactly what that means. Brand partnerships. So I mentioned we'll talk about this for just a minute here. I think we're doing okay on time, it seems like. Brand partnerships are really the end of the rainbow in a sense. It's more bookings, more opportunities, more leverage in meetings that you're taking, but also creating revenue for yourself. Everyone on this session today, some of you guys might not be interested in doing collaborations with brands. I completely respect that. I understand. If you are interested, there's some things to know. 10,000 followers is usually the threshold to begin. You might get some things before them, but usually they're trade. So to get paid to do it, about 10,000 followers, it's considered a micro influencer. Do your research on the brand that you're looking at. Make sure that you authentically care and like that product. If it feels like you're forcing it, it's going to seem like you're forcing it. Other brands can smell that. So it's kind of like building a resume for the first time, like you've done in the entertainment industry, except for with products on social media. You can do videos, you can do still images. There's a lot of ways to do collaborations with brands. These here on the bottom are just a few that I've done: GMC, Celebrity Cruise Lines, Irish Springs, Formula race cars I mentioned. So it can be really fun to work with these companies, and it's a direct relationship to these brands. Also, fantastic casting platforms like Casting Networks, for example, well, specifically Casting Networks, will have breakdowns for here and there for brands and ways to work directly with a company or submit yourself for collaboration with these different brands. If you submit yourself and mention that you have a social media following, you're now doing a brand collaboration and partnership. So if you have a good following, leverage it, use it, especially for commercials, especially for print, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to sell that product. They want to sell, their microphone or whatever it is. And if you have a large following and you post about it and you're in the commercial, now they've just gotten even a bigger reach on their ad, so they'll pay you more to do so. So use platforms like, specifically Casting Networks, because the commercial component really push, your following, because it will make a difference in those decisions. Many commercials nowadays actually have you sign in with your following. I've been getting that feedback, and it's because it's definitely a factor. It's not the factor, but it is a factor. Leading with authenticity, know how to reach out. So there's ways to actually do it. We don't have time for that right now. I'm going to do an advanced class down the line. We'll let you guys know about it. Hope maybe New Casting Networks would love to do it. The advanced side of this is like, how do you reach out? Where do you go to reach out? What does that look like? How do you write that, submission on Casting Networks to make sure that they are interested, the brands or whomever the casting is interested. So bringing ideas, adding value, getting creative, knowing your worth, there's a lot that goes into that. So brand partnerships are something that's very fun. If you're at the point where you can do partnerships now, reach out. We're happy to help out. Send it. If you get a collaboration request, send it to us. We'll take a look at it. We're not going to charge you for things like that. We want to be, we want to support you. So if you get something, let us know. We'll take a look at it, let you know if it's worth taking a look at or not. That this world can be a bit of a wild west. So we want to make sure you guys have that info. Key takeaways. I know this was a lot and it was fast. I'm aware of that. This will be live. Or not live, excuse me, it is live. It will be recorded and put on YouTube. Some of you may actually be watching it later on YouTube. So with that, rewatch it. If you guys are on it live right now, rewatch this. If there's things that you think you missed, if you want to take screenshots, go back, whatever it is, rewatch it. These are the key takeaways. Brand quality consistency. Posting every 2 to 4 days. Every 2 business days is what we mentioned, but every 2 to 4 days. Picking 3 brand points. 7 or better quality just means that if a 10 out of 10 is National Geographic or Game of Thrones, pre-final season, then that's the quality that we're shooting for with the content, is a 7 or better. If 10 is those things, 7 or better is on average would give you the best traction. Optimize your profile. We talked about your handle, your profile image, your bio, things like that. Engage with your potential fan base, liking, commenting, take photos with friends, influencers, collaborate with people, take photos on set when you can go to set again. Hashtag properly. The hashtag guide is going to be coming to you guys, and then 10,000 for partnerships. That's actually when you can start to reach out and turn this into a monetizable source of income, for you. That is all I've got today. I am very curious to hear any questions that you guys had that maybe weren't answered in the chat, or anything additional that you have. As I mentioned and as promised, email is hello@TSMA Consulting. Reach out anytime. We'll help you out if you want to work with us, of course. We have that phenomenal growth program I mentioned. That's tsmagrowth.com. And we have hundreds of people on that program in the entertainment industry, so we'd love to have you. We're very hands-on, high communication, so anything you guys need, we're here. We really do these classes because we care Casson Networks does these classes because they care, and we aligned on this class today and are partnering up for it because we really, really genuinely care about the entertainment industry and about you as creatives and as artists and as actors and musicians and dancers and models. This is really what it's about, is putting the power in your hands so you can get more opportunities, and that's what Casson Networks always been about as well. So honored to be a part of this. Thank you so much, Casson Networks, for you guys that are on for this today. Thank you to the TSMA team for being on here. If you guys got to jump, I totally understand. I think we might be a little over time, but I think we also have a couple of questions. So feel free to screenshot this. I'm going to open up the questions. One thing to note as well, we do have as I mentioned, the TSMA growth site. We do have a coupon for you guys. Ben's going to put that coupon into the chat for you. You get $20 off for coming from Casson Networks. We never discount our services. I hardly ever even pitch it or sell. But the idea is I want to give you guys some incentive if you do want to start growing your account or work with TSMA. Like I said, we'd love to have you. So Ben's going to put that in the chat for you today. With that, let me stop sharing. I'm going to come back here and let's take a look at some of these questions here. Awesome. How do we use social media in the midst of current events that are happening? How to post, what to post, should we post, should we not post? Totally. Fantastic question. Right now, we are in a very incredible, unique, momentous time for the world and the United States. And it is, I believe, so important to use the influence that you've created to give back to those that don't have a voice, and to use your platform to promote and support those that might not have that same kind of influence or voice. We are all here because you're in a unique position where you're either a professional performer, you are aspiring to and working to be a professional performer, or you have already had a professional career of some sort. That is an incredible position to be in. And it also gives you a lot of leverage that a lot of people just don't have. So I would implore you to use that leverage and to use that influence to help spread that message and to help those that are disenfranchised or not empowered in the same way and don't have the communication skills that you guys have. Many people don't. You're all artists. You understand, you empathize, and that's important to be able to use that to spread a message that others might not be able to. So being very generic there, but the idea is that use your platform. If that means that you don't want to post about 3 different brand points right now, that maybe it's just a one brand point, activism or inspiration is a second one, absolutely the time to do so. There are certain things that are more important than building a following, and I mentioned that earlier. There are things that are more important than having a perfect aesthetic for your profile. So right now is the time, if you would like to, and we're not, I said I implore you to, if you'd like to, now is the time to, post resources, post, links and ways for people to give back and donate, post what your thoughts and feelings are, have conversations with your audience right now, if that's something that you would like to do. Everyone has their own purpose, their own messaging, their own reason, for doing things on social media. However, our choice has been with most of our clients to make sure that that message is spread and that we really are, active, because I think it's a duty you have to put the ladder back down when you've gotten to a high spot. So that's my feelings on the current events. Right now, I won't speak to anything specifically because we do have a large, group here today. But the idea is that you can use influence for a lot of things, and it's not always just to benefit yourself. So that's my thought on that. A couple other questions here. Follow versus unfollow. Who should you follow on Instagram, and should you follow everyone who follows you back? Great question. Instagram actually caps you at following, I believe it's 7,500 people, 5,000, 7,500, 5,000 friends on Facebook, 7,500 following on Instagram. So you will get capped eventually to the point where you can't follow anyone else. You also want to keep that probably below 1,500 people that you're following. It's hard to believe that anyone would know personally more than 1,500. The people that you're following are the people you know personally, the companies you care about, the celebrities that you enjoy their content, the meme pages that make you laugh, whatever it is. Those are the pages that you're following. You do not need to follow your fans back. Eventually, it won't be sustainable. You'd be following 7,500 people. So only follow the people that you actively know, that you want to have a relationship with, that you can communicate with, and those that you've worked with. That's important, because I've often said the most emotional part of social media can sometimes be noticing when someone doesn't follow you back. It's funny how that's the case. It should be the case. It's usually an error, but it's good to know that it happens the other way too. People get really concerned and sad when they think that you're not following them. So something to consider, that you don't need to follow everyone who's following you. They're following you because they're fans. They're fans of your content. They're interested in what you're posting. But if you notice someone who follows you is someone in the industry or someone you might want to work with, or a casting director or an agent or a manager or a producer or a director or a writer, absolutely follow them back. That can be a great way to build that relationship and make it 3D, not just social media. Ben, who's on here and often speaks to this, he got his agent, from social media. He has built real relationships with casting directors and directors and producers from social media. Alex, who's on here today, got her agent, her commercial agent, primarily, starting and stemming from a social media relationship. So it can make a big difference, but only follow the people that you really want to personally connect with. Awesome. Couple of other questions here. How and when should I try to get verified? So verification is usually based on press and publicity. So that is going to be something that's not relevant really to the follower number. It's not relevant to you submitting yourself on Instagram for verification. Those things tend to not help. It actually has to do with just natural press. If you're a company, it means that you have a global presence. That is their qualification for a business. If you're an individual, it means that you have a global reach. So chances are you can walk into most rooms and people would recognize you. That's usually the people who get verified. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's not true. I have a friend who no one knows who's a musician who just got verified. Well, there are exceptions, of course. There are times when people get verified because CBS sends in their, verification request, or they get a request from a PR firm or social media company like ours or something, and then they push it through. There are exceptions there. There's no way to buy it. You can't buy a verification. You can't fake it. You can work with a PR firm to get traditional press to then leverage for verification. So that's an option. But yeah, you can't. If anyone's like selling verification, they actually could get in huge trouble with Instagram for doing that. So great question there. Is shadow banning a thing? So shadow banning basically means that you are using a hashtag too often and then you're not trending on hashtags or showing up on hashtags. It has been debunked by Instagram. It technically is not a thing. I think that it is possible to not show up on hashtags for various reasons. And you also can't see your own content usually showing up on a hashtag that you just posted. So that might be a reason why you don't see that content. But yeah, shadow banning is something that people get very concerned about. It's not worth your time, not worth overthinking or hyper-focusing on. Just create great content. Put the hashtags out there. Not all of them are going to trend. Some most likely will not. Most likely will not. But as long as you keep doing it, you'll build an organic audience from that SEO. So yeah, don't worry too much about shadow banning. Any advice for young people or parents of young people in terms of anything to look out for? Yes. Instagram, like anywhere that in the world that has 1 billion people, can be a scary place sometimes. And there's a small percentage of people on the platform that are not there for the right reasons. So we just need to remember, we teach a lot with youth through AFI. We've taught through Osbrink, has been a partner of ours and a client for a long time. We work with a lot of kids, and many of us are actually certified to teach youth education, so for performers. So really, it is a part of the conversation. You need to be very careful, more careful than you would be as an adult on social media, basically meaning that all of us shouldn't be putting our location when you actually are physically out of place. Put it later when you post it later. Don't do a story that has identifiable landmarks. There are times where you'll grow a following and people will show up. And you don't want that if it's the weird person who shows up or someone who's not safe. Just be extra careful, extra cautious. Also, if your child is the one that's using their own Instagram, just monitor it. Make sure the people that they're following aren't posting any kind of graphic content. We're a very family-friendly company. We don't work with any celebrities for our collaborations that have any kind of sexuality, nudity, swearing, anything like that. And we believe that, it's important to make sure that you build a genuine very G-rated conversation with your audience, because there are going to be companies like Disney and Nickelodeon, and also it's just the right thing to do. I think, the platform has already so much hate and gross stuff on it that, keeping it positive and staying, that doesn't mean not posting about what you believe in. I very much believe in that, but there's no reason to, make it graphic or anything that could be polarizing or hurt people. If your kid is or your child is the one that's using the platform, just be really cognizant of what they're looking at. Go through their feed every once in a while. Make sure you're looking at the people that they're following. It's tough, especially we work with a lot of like 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds. It can be hard to get access to their accounts and whatnot. They also have things called Finstas, which is like a fake Instagram account, a second account that they use just for their friends. Just be careful. Same thing as, going to a party. You don't want the wrong people to show up, and you want to make sure you know what's going on. We do teach some youth seminars that are specific to youth to kind of expand on those topics, but the biggest things are just location privacy and being sure that the people that are being followed by your child. Great, a couple more questions here. Cool. Got it. So I got a question. If you're just starting, what is the best place to begin, or how is the best way to begin if you're just getting started on Instagram for the first time? Well, of course, download the app, set up the profile, try to secure your handle. Also, you guys should secure your name on TikTok. That's a really good note as well, because TikTok, as it's growing, someone might get your handle down the line and you can't capture that. Make sure that you're posting as much as you can, get the content out there, feel what it's like to optimize the content, crop it, make sure it looks good on the feed as a whole, follow accounts that you care about and like, and see how they're posting, and just dive in. There's never a better time to start than now. As long as you attempt and work at it and put energy into it, you will be an expert before you know it. It's pretty amazing. Now, you might not know everything about the algorithm, you might not know everything about SEO and hashtags, but you will get the hang of it and eventually build a great presence that represents you well. You can really tell when a performer has a great presence. It stands out. And you can also reach out to casting directors and agents and people in the industry through social media and get their attention in a better way, because your profile represents a really quality aesthetic and presence. So that's a big part of it. The coupon code is going to be valid as long as you are on this session. So we haven't put a time on it. However, usually our coupon codes are about 30 days. I would say if you're thinking about it, you have any questions, reach out. We'll answer any questions you have. But if I'm not, this isn't about selling our services at all, but if you are looking to grow your followers, want to give it a shot, we want to help you. So I would just, it is never a better time. Right now, Instagram social media usage is up 25% overall because of COVID, because of people all around the world being at home. This is where they're looking, is social media now. This is really the time to jump on it. Optimizing your profile, make sure it's great. Beautiful. Post performance clips or trailers on Instagram stories. So what kind of content to post. Stories, yeah, you can pull photos from your camera roll and put them up on stories. You can also create graphics for stories if you want to take it very seriously. You can make it candid. We could take a picture right now, and I might even do that, put it on my story here. Here we go. Just do a photo or a screenshot, recording or clips of this, for example, could easily go on a story because it's candid. It's just meant to be lighthearted, what you're doing during that day, what's interesting to you at that time, what are you noticing, and then of course, thoughts and feelings around the different movements and what's happening right now. That's a great way to candidly let people into your life. Beautiful. So there is, let's do one more question here. We're just a little bit over the hour time. Would you include things about yourself as an actor and industry goings on under the entertainment brand point? Yes, anything that's entertainment is an entertainment brand point. Writing, modeling, acting, singing, all will be entertainment. So just put that into one category so that you have options for other types of content. And it's also so it's diversified. So the profile is diversified. One quick note here on this is that the Major difference in having one profile or multiple profiles is revenue streams. So if you are an actor and you also own a business doing coaching for actors, those would be separate profiles. Those are separate revenue streams, separate businesses, separate profiles. Otherwise, it can get confusing. Let's say I follow you as an actor and you start promoting your acting coaching services, and I'm in Kentucky and I'm not an actor, I'm just a fan of you as a performer. It can get really confusing about why I'm following you. I might unfollow or not be interested in the first place. So have separate revenue streams, be separate profiles. That is the key right there. It's not like, if you like, for example, comedy and inspiration and acting, comedy doesn't need to be its own profile. It should actually be lumped in with those other two because it's more about a three-dimensional view of who you are as a person. Your business should be separate. Let's say you own an acting studio or a comedy theater. That is a separate presence. Remember, more profiles you take on, the more time it's going to take and the more energy and the more money and more otherwise. So, keeping it consolidated as much as possible is a good option. Amazing, guys. Well, with that, I want to thank you again so much for being on here today. It's been such a privilege. I love doing this, and you guys have had amazing, amazing questions and great collaboration and feedback. So thank you again so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And yeah, let us know what you think. Let casting networks know what you think. If you want to review us on Google, let us know what you think. I would really appreciate it. Whatever, we love getting feedback. We always want to make this better, always want to sharpen it. And hopefully we'll get a chance to do this again. Casting networks, all of you guys that are on here, Tracy and otherwise, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for having us. I'm so excited to continue this relationship. And for everyone on, have a wonderful rest of your day and a beautiful weekend. We'll talk to you guys soon.